It is that point in the show when we get some more insights on the Bears from our Bear Blitz analyst, Hub Arkush. He joins us now from Chicagoland. Hub, I got to get your take first on Matt Nagy pulling Mitch Trubisky at the end of the Rams game. To me, it almost felt like Nagy was maybe looking for an excuse to pull Trubisky, and the hip injury gave him an opening, so he took it. But what do you make of that whole scenario at the end of that game?
Yeah, I don't know, Scott. The problem that the Bears seem to have is their communication gets out of whack sometimes, and it tends to create situations with much more uncertainty than really exists. I don't think he was looking to pull Mitch Trubisky. He might have liked to have pulled Mitch Trubisky if he had a better option, but I think Matt Nagy is smart enough to know he does not have a better option. Chase Daniel gives him nothing that Mitch Trubisky doesn't. Trubisky definitely still gives them the best chance to win. So I definitely think the injury, is real. I know some people were a little surprised when they came back on Wednesday and Mitch was full participation in practice, but hip pointers can be funny. Sometimes it's just playing through the pain. And I think it was a situation where it really was about the injury. And I think Nagy found himself in that fourth quarter battling some uncertainty as to, is the injury really limiting him to the point where I might be better off with Chase Daniel? And in the end, he decided it was. But I don't think he was looking for an excuse. He doesn't need an excuse to go to Chase Daniel. If he thinks Daniel's going to give him a better chance, he's going to do it. But I think Matt's smarter than that.
Yeah, I don't doubt that a healthy Mitch Trubisky certainly gives the Bears a better chance to win than Chase Daniel does. But let's say the Bears offense just continues to struggle badly here. Will Matt Nagy then be forced to sit Trubisky? If for no other reason, then maybe to send Trubisky a message that he needs to be better, and also perhaps to send a message to the rest of the team that, hey, everyone needs to perform or you're going to end up on the sideline.
Well, I think there's something in there somewhere. I don't know how he's going to choose to try and continue to develop Mitch Trubisky, and he might very well decide that it's time to send him a message and possibly bench him to see if that gets a rise out of him. I don't think he's particularly worried about sending a message to the rest of the team. It's too early to quit on Mitch Trubisky, and I know Bears fans are frustrated and they don't want to hear that, but I think we've talked about this on the show before. As frustrating as it may be, we've seen just enough out of Mitch physically and athletically that it's just too soon to quit, and the only way he's going to get better is to keep throwing him out there.
Now, I know you're a football guy, not a psychologist, but where do you think Trubisky's confidence level is in himself right now?
It's interesting that you asked the question that way, Scott, because I actually talked about this on Chicago radio a little bit. I've been thinking about writing it. Part of our job with a prospect like Trubisky is to play amateur psychologist, even if you're as unqualified to as I am. But I certainly, have as much interaction with the young man as anybody else in the media in town, and have been observing him for almost 3 years now. And I've kind of come to the conclusion that I don't think it's about his confidence. I think he just may be a little immature for his age and his station in life. And, for a young man who's being asked to lead the heritage franchise in the NFL, the third biggest market, and getting almost $30 million guaranteed to do it. And as I've looked back now and tried to think through some of the reactions we've seen from him, some of the statements we've seen from him, some of the way he handles certain situations, I get a sense that he just may be a little immature for his age, and he may take longer to grow up. He may take a different kind of handling. He may take some shock to the system, like you suggested, of benching him. But I think that's probably more the problem. I think he believes he's confident. And it was interesting when we visited with him on Wednesday, prior to his first practice after the injury, he was probably as relaxed and natural as I've seen him at any point since getting to Chicago, which is not what most of us were expecting. And so I think it's just a long and difficult maturing and growing up process for him, and he's still probably a little bit behind the curve there.
Well, the Giants come into Soldier Field with a young quarterback this week in Daniel Jones. How would you rate his rookie season so far, and how much upside do you see in his future?
Well, he's been very impressive. He's got almost a 90 quarterback rating. I want to say about 88, or that's actually a passer rating, not a quarterback rating. And he's got 15 touchdowns versus 8 interceptions. His completion percentage is better than average. His average per attempt is, I think, right around 7 in the 7s, which is, certainly middle of the road or better. I think they're probably pretty pleased with what Jones has done in the 7 starts he's had since he got the starting job.
If the Bears are going to win another game this season, this is probably their best shot, right?
Yeah, they're going to win more than one more this season, Scott. I know it feels like disaster, but there's some things about this team that aren't as far away as people think. I think this is certainly their best shot for their next win, and then we'll see what happens after that. It is difficult to win in Detroit on Thanksgiving, but they went in and did it last year. Detroit is having a lot of the same problems that the Bears are, so yeah, I think it's conceivable. You could even see them win in the next two, get back to 500. Unfortunately, the finishing stretch is a bit of a murderer's row. All four teams likely to be in the playoffs when you look next at Dallas, Green Bay, Kansas City, and then Minnesota. But certainly, they're almost a touchdown favorite over the Giants, and yeah, I think they've got a real good chance to be better than competitive in their next two games.
All right, let's hope so. Thank you, Hub. We'll check in again with you next week. Thank you.
All right, Scott.
Remember, folks, catch Hub right here every week. Hub is the executive editor of Pro Football Weekly and ProFootballWeekly.com, where you can find all sorts of information about the Bears and the NFL. You can also hear Hub on the Bears pregame and postgame shows on Sports Radio 670 The Score in Chicago.